Hey, Ted here. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, we're so glad you decided to join us. I'm a father, husband, golden retriever owner, believer, and someone who also has a passion for living a healthy lifestyle. And this channel was created to simply share the resources, the tips that I've learned and picked up on along the way, and share those with others who are looking for real solutions, simple solutions like I was. And so on this episode, we're going to look at something that as we get older that we all struggle with. I know I did. This is really the topic we're talking about on this episode is the very thing that really opened my eyes to what real health and living a healthy lifestyle is all about. And it just led to bigger things. Now, I do want to warn you, we don't try to get technical on here. We're not going to try to weigh you down with fancy words. This is all about putting it in terms that we all can understand, because if we don't understand them, we're probably not going to apply them. So if you're looking for a fancy production or some big scientific terms, this is probably not the channel for you. But the topic we're going to look at tonight is metabolism. As we get older, at least in my journey, I noticed how my metabolism was slowing down. And metabolism is basically the process by which our bodies take food and turn it into energy. And the higher our metabolism, the more calories we burn. The slower, the opposite happens. But what I found is I've learned some tips. In fact, I'm going to share 5 of them with you in this episode of how you can rev up your metabolism and boost that calorie burn. So let's get right into it. So hack number 1 is resistance training, or another term for it is strength training. Now whether it's weights, whether it's bands, whether it's body weight, whatever it is, anytime that we're adding resistance to our body, then we're giving ourselves the potential of building muscle, of creating muscle mass, lean muscle mass. And the interesting thing about muscle is muscle burns more calories than fat. So if we can develop a routine 2 to 3 times a week on top of what we're already doing, and we can build some strength, then that means that we're going to increase our muscle mass, which in turn is going to boost our calorie burn and rev up our metabolism. Now, I'm not talking about bodybuilding or anything like that. All right. I'm just talking about basic exercises just to improve some strength, whether it's push-ups, squats, body weight squats. If it's with weights, I do suggest, and this is speaking from experience, that you use compound movements, things that where you're using multi-joint, things like squats, things like, where we're pressing, those types of things. But hack number 1 is resistance training. Let's take a look at the next one. The second hack that can help rev up our metabolism is making sure that we get adequate sleep. When I was younger, I was like, well, as long as I get the same amount of hours. You ever said that? As long as I get the same amount of hours, if I get 4 hours a night, at least if it's consistent, then I'm good. All right. Now, that might not have affected my energy so much when I was in my 20s and 30s, but now that I'm in my 50s, all right, it's hard to sustain that. But that's just a byproduct. The real issue is when we don't get adequate sleep, and and let's go ahead and define it. We're defining adequate sleep as getting 7-8 hours consistently a night. When we deprive ourselves of sleep, there's a hormone in our bodies called cortisol. And I told you we're going to keep it basic on here. Another term for cortisol is the stress hormone. And when we deprive our bodies of that sleep that it needs, the level of cortisol increases. And another way of thinking of cortisol is, you have two sides of hormones. You have fat burning and you have fat storing. Well, cortisol falls in the fat storing side. So the more it's secreted, the more fat storing that's taking place, which means it's slowing our metabolism down and we're burning less calories. Now, if you have a hard time, like I used to, of getting to bed at a regular time and getting to bed and falling asleep, it's important that you start developing a bedtime routine if you struggle with that. Give yourself a curfew as far as strict screen time goes, whether that's your TV, whether it's your computer, your phone, minimum 30 minutes before you turn in. Make sure your bedroom is cool. Make sure it's dark. And also avoid caffeine in the evening hours, as that can also affect getting to sleep. And we're talking about 7-8 hours of quality sleep. And if you can do that on a consistent basis, okay, that actually helps boost calorie burn. So let's look at number 3. Number 3, eat more protein. Protein is one of the 3 macronutrients, along with carbohydrates and fats. And just like we were talking about with the resistance training and building muscle, protein is a building block for that. It is essential for that. All right. But the other thing that protein helps is it helps keeps us full longer. It satisfies us. When we eat protein, okay, then we're not going back looking for a snack or looking something to eat an hour or two later. Okay. It gives us that feeling of we're full. And that's crucial, because it keeps us from just filling our bodies with empty calories. But the other important thing about protein is that it takes more energy from the body to digest it, actually about 30% more. So when we're ingesting protein, all right, it's giving us that full sensation that we're satisfied. So it keeps us from getting those hunger pains a little bit later. All right. But it's also boosting our metabolism because it takes more energy to digest it. So want to make sure that you include protein in every meal and snack. And if you're not sure how to do that, if you're not sure of what good sources of protein is, then if you'll look down below there somewhere in the description, there's actually a free resource there that feel free to download and can help you with that. So make sure you get your protein. Hack number 4, manage stress. How many of us deal with stress? We all do. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. But it's important we learn how to manage it. It's important we learn how to find ways to deal with it, to lessen it. Because here's the thing with stress, all right? And we're talking about chronic stress, whether it's your job, whether it's your family, whatever it is. When we're talking about chronic stress, all right, and when we have it consistently, it causes weight gain. Want to know how it causes weight gain? What did we just say earlier was the stress hormone? Is cortisol. So when we have chronic stress, again, the cortisol level is up. It's higher, which increases our appetite. All right. And remember, appetite is more of a psychological thing. Hunger is a real physical need from our body, that it needs food, it needs nutrients. Appetite is more of a psychological deal. So you've heard of emotional eating? When people get stressed, when people worry, a lot of times they turn to food, all right, to relieve that, to feel better. Okay, so that's that cortisol that's causing that. So it increases appetite and fat storage. So it's important that all of us look for ways that we can manage stress. We can't completely avoid it, but we can find some real concrete ways, real helpful ways to help us manage it, whether that's meditation, in your daily routine before your day starts. Maybe it's breathing techniques. We all have those times during the day where we may find ourselves in a stressful situation. Just taking deep breaths, finding a way to relax and bring that cortisol level back down in our blood. All right. Just anything that helps put you in a more relaxed state. For me, it's meditation. It's my devotional. It's my quiet time in the morning, but it's also exercise. When I feel a lot of stress building up, it's been a stressful day, then I found that when just something simple as going and taking a walk can help me relieve that. So making sure that we manage our stress. And then number 5, and I know this one might sound funny to you, but eat. Look, we can all starve ourselves for 5 or 7 days and you're going to lose weight. All right. But here's what's going to happen. Number 1, that's not sustainable. Okay. And it's not good for you. All right. Number 2, what happens is when we do this beyond a period of 5 to 7 days, our body goes into what's called starvation mode. So our body senses something's different, something's off. It's almost like it senses danger. And because we're not putting nutrients in our body will see that and sense that, and it will stop. It will slow down burning energy because it's trying to conserve it because we're not putting any in it. Does that make sense? So we're actually working against ourselves. And when that happens, the muscle mass we talked about, the lean muscle, the strength we talked about gaining, all right, we start losing it, okay? And our metabolism slows down. So instead of focusing on starving ourselves, all right, to lose a few pounds, let's focus on a balanced diet, making sure that it's full of that protein that we talked about, that it's, that is full of whole grains, fruits, vegetables. Now, if you want to do some intermittent fasting, and I do that from time to time, all right, but I never go a full day without eating. Now, I know sometimes spiritually we do that, and I've done that before, but you know what I'm talking about, okay? That's not what I'm talking. What I'm talking about is people that just skip meals and starve themselves because they're trying to get down to some weight that they think they need to get down to. All right, that is actually going to work against you, okay? Because it's going to slow your metabolism down, and your body's going to try to save and conserve that energy, if that makes sense. So I hope you got some value out of that. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, so you can make sure you get notified when we put out our next video. Look, there's no magic pill. There's no magic wand. All right. If there was, everybody would be taking it. Okay. But I promise you, if you'll take these 5 tips, all right, and you'll start implementing them on a regular basis, that you'll start to see a difference in your metabolism, and it'll help you boost that calorie burn. Until next time, take care.